Hello, TikTok. This is Anna from Anna Taylor Radio. I'm about to do my podcast live, so if anybody is hopping on here, it's going to be about my adoption story as a birth mother and as a foster child, I guess. But give me a second, I have to record this. So.
Recording in progress.
Hey, this is Anna Taylor from Anna Taylor Radio. Thank you for joining me today or tonight. I'm doing another new podcast episode, special episode here about a personal story of mine. Right now I'm live on TikTok, so anybody joining me, I'm going to be talking about my story about being a birth mother, placing my oldest child for open adoption. So I'm going to be looking at two cameras here. And if anybody comments, I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. Hey, Aunt. What's up, man? That's my buddy. Yeah, this is going to be about my story of my open adoption. I placed my oldest daughter. She's now 20, but I placed her in 2003. So disclaimer, this is my story, my opinions, my experiences. Other people's birth mothers, adoptees, adoption parents' stories may be different. Every adoption is different. So whatever my opinions is, agree to disagree, it's whatever. But this is my story and I'm sticking to it. So just to start off, if anybody, once I edit this video and episode and everything, you'll be able to watch it on my YouTube channel, which is Anna Taylor Radio channel on YouTube. You can listen at anchor.fm/Anna Taylor Radio now, or go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and type in Anna Taylor Radio. And also, if you don't mind, whoever's listening, if you haven't already, go find on TikTok at Anna Taylor Radio now. Click follow, and please also follow the @ Project Storm Now. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers, especially on my podcast page for TikTok, so that way I can go live when I do my podcast shows on that one. So, all right, and I'm going to be using my phone as a guide as far as like how this episode's going to go. So, basically, the purpose of this episode is to, share my personal experience and insights on open adoption, especially mine. So let's get into this. And I'll also, if you go to the YouTube channel, Anna Taylor Radio channel, I'll post some resources there and also some resources within the podcast episode as well. Later on when I go to edit. So if you need resources, go there. So explaining open adoption. Basically, open adoption is, I guess it's titled because it's late at night and people are sleeping. So open adoption, there's open adoption and closed adoption. Open adoption wasn't really available or even around until basically it started in like the 80s. And then for the longest time, from then and back, it was always closed adoption. And there's many reasons for that. The adoptees could not open the files. Like, they could find maybe where they were adopted, but, information was redacted, and, their parents' names were redacted. Many times back in the day, maybe it was a younger birth mother or somebody underage who got pregnant out of wedlock, and it was an embarrassment to the family or whatever, so parents would force the birth mother to place for adoption, and because they were underage, the information was redacted. So any adoptees, looking for their birth mother or their birth family, couldn't find their birth mother. So when open adoption came around, like I said, every adoption is different, but especially open adoption, there's different degrees of open adoption. There's, fully open adoptions where, shoot, some birth mothers babysit their kids. Sometimes the adoptive parents live close by and you get to see the kid all the time and talk to them all the time, whatever. If they live far away or they're distant from each other, there's face chats and phone calls and things like that. But that's what it's supposed to be, at least. But yeah, I chose open adoption basically. Benefits and challenges of open adoption. So basically, some benefits would be, I know in my case, I wanted to know who my kid was. I wanted my kid to know who I was. I wanted my kid to know who her family and where her roots came from, her blood. Whether she liked it or not, was embarrassed of it or not, was happy with it or not. We don't choose our family, you know what I'm saying? So, we can't help who we're born from. Yeah, I think there's many benefits to open adoption. And regardless of how open it is or whatever the case may be, I think it's always good for, in my opinion, for an adoptee to know exactly where they come from, what their birth mother or birth father looks like, what their family looks like. I grew up without a father. I wasn't adopted, but I was in foster care. I almost was adopted. But I did, know my mother's side of the family, but I didn't know my father's side. So I kind of understand not knowing, being half empty and not knowing that part of myself, not knowing who do I look like. Do I look like my mom? Do I look like my dad? I don't know. And then on top of that, with close adoption, how you go to a doctor or something, and on the medical papers, it's like, on the mother's side, you have this, and this. On the father's side, you have this, you don't know. You don't know the medical stuff at all. So, with an open adoption, you have access to medical information, what you're prone to get, what runs in your family. Does breast cancer run in the family? Does any kind of cancer run in the family? Any kind of disease or depression or mental illness or whatever, at least the adoptee would know to be prepared for what's made to be to come, So, inheriting genetic traits and things like that. So, but yeah, I think there's many, many more benefits to open adoption than to closed adoption. However, I think if there's any downside to open adoption, which I don't think there's as many as closed, but basically, sometimes, the adoptee may not want to know who tracked down their birth family. They may not care. They may not, they may love their adoptive family and they're thankful for them, and they don't really want to know who their birth parent is. That hurts the birth mom, because I'm telling you, as a birth mother myself, there's not a day that goes by I don't think about my child. She's 20 now, but not a day goes by I don't think of my child, and I love her and think of her every single day, and I miss her every single day. So the downside is, well, I guess to adoption period is that I miss out on motherhood, which I'll explain my journey as to why I chose adoption and my journey through that too. But so getting into the first segment, explaining open adoption, I've already pretty much explained what open adoption versus closed adoption is, but as far as why I chose open adoption, okay, well, and by the way, for those of you on TikTok, if you got any questions, which I'm going on 2 different cameras right here, so I'm going to try to see if there's any questions or anybody talking in the chat or whatever. If you got any questions or anything like that, give me a shout out and question, try to answer this question. Hopefully you guys can hear me, because I'm trying to talk a little low because it's late at night, people are sleeping. But why I chose open adoption is because, as I said, I wanted my kid to know me, to know the roots, to know the blood, know what it looked like, what birth family, and see what she looked like. Because I understand what it's like to have an empty heart, growing up without my father, which I did end up finding my father, but still, that wound was there, and no, he didn't abandon me. It's just that it's a long story, but my mom forgot his last name. Oops. And yeah, they, I guess, missed paths or whatever. But so getting to the second one. All right. Sharing my personal story leading up to my decision. Okay. So basically, I got pregnant. Now, politically, I'm an independent. I'm not liberal. I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I'm not right wing. I'm not conservative. I'm not, I'm in the middle. I'm a fence setter. What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. But you can call me more of a liberal. But on certain issues, I can swing right. So, being liberal, I guess, I'm pro-life. And it's not that, pro-choice, whoa, she's pro-life, oh God. No, I'm not even religious. Okay, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. I'm not even a Christian. So no, I'm not going to shove religion or Jesus or anybody down anybody's throat because that's the right thing to do and that's what the Bible says to do to keep the baby alive and blah, 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 blah. No, I'm not like that. Okay, I'm pro-life for a reason. For psychological reasons, emotional reasons, mental reasons, scientific reasons. It's a life. Life begins at conception. Because if it didn't, it wouldn't start concepting. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, we kind of care more about life on Mars versus life here on Earth. And yes, there's people out there who think that humans are basically cockroaches, which I can agree to some extent because some humans are bad, but there are humans that are good, and we are an overpopulated planet, that's true, but everybody deserves a chance at life. And basically, I see it kind of as a fate thing too. So it's like, if it wasn't meant for that life, baby, fetus, whatever, human, whatever you want to call it, blah, to come into this world, it would have never started conception. So that's a fate factor. Oh yeah, the feedback, Anthony, the feedback echoes from this one when I'm recording now. Let me see if I can turn it down. Hold on. Give me just a second. No memento. Okay. Let's see if that works. Maybe. Alright. I think that worked. I don't hear echo anymore. But, life begins at conception. I mean, there's no really fighting about that. And just because I'm pro-life doesn't mean I'm not pro-women's rights or pro-women's bodies or anything like that. But you know what? It takes two to tango. And yeah, you can get into this, which, what if it's rape? What if it's, that's the bare minimum, like rare percentage of women who get pregnant by rape. Okay. So, or medical issues, things like that. That's a whole nother ballgame. I'm talking about in general. If you had consensual sex, I don't care how old you are, if you had consensual sex, okay, with somebody, let's say hypothetically you're an adult, okay, you had consensual sex with somebody. I don't care if you're married or not. I don't care if, I'm not, my career comes first, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the fact of the matter biologically is we women can get pregnant, and even with contraceptions, you can still get pregnant with condoms, you can still get pregnant with any of the birth control pills or any of the birth control out there, but like I said, to me, there's a fate factor, if it wasn't meant for that life to be conceived or come into this world, it would have never come into this world. And it's basically like, and then, the thing of, well, women's rights. Well, here's the thing. What if that life, that fetus, that blob, whatever the hell you want to call it, within that belly, what if that's going to be a female? What if it turns into a female? Women's rights. Okay, well, it's going to be a future woman someday in like 18, 19 years. So why would you strip away that future woman's rights. Just makes no sense to me. So those are some reasons why I'm pro-life, a liberal for pro-life. Has nothing to do with Jesus, has nothing to do with God or religion. I know that with most pro-lifers, and it makes me so sick. They want to shove Christianity. It's mostly the right-wing conservative Christian, right-wing people that are pro-life. And if you're listening to this and you're conservative, right-wing Christian, pro-life, whatever, take the religion out of it. Take God and the Jesus out of it. I don't care. I'm telling you, it's not going to help your stance. Okay, use science, emotions, psychology. Use common sense things as to why somebody should be pro-life, and also agree to disagree. If a woman gets an abortion, don't hate her, don't put her down, don't blame, please blame her, or talk shit about her, or any kind of negativity. That was her choice, because ultimately, yes, the fact of the matter is, whether you're pro-life or not, there's a choice in the matter. And, like with Planned Parenthood, yes, I believe that abortion has become a marketable, profitable thing. That's pretty messed up. But the whole reason why Planned Parenthood came about in the first place, which, by the way, they don't just do abortions, they do other things for women too that help women, women's health services, not just abortions, FYI. So I'm not saying I'm pro Planned Parenthood or anything, but that's true. Let's give credit where credit's due. But either way, Planned Parenthood with the abortions came about because women who were trying to abort their babies were using coat hanger abortions, and that is very dangerous, not only to the fetus, but to the birth mother, and deaths were happening, and it was just Planned Parenthood basically opened a safe space, a clean, professional safe space for women to come and have an abortion. Okay, but yes, it turned into a proper marketable business. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But but there are ways to cut down on abortion. There are ways to help the birth mother, and many times birth mothers, they get an abortion because either they think they can't afford to have a baby or afford to have another baby. They might have children already, and they're like, "Dang, I can't afford this child," or whatever the case may be. And and that's a sad reason to abort because of money. Come on. Especially in the United States, this is the richest nation in the world, supposedly. So it's like we have plenty of money to go around to help that mom, to help these moms, to put in programs into place, or even anything, counseling, whatever, to help these parents, moms and dads. But again, adoption is an option. Now, here's the thing. As far as my journey goes, when I got pregnant, I was age 19. I was dating a guy, my oldest daughter, that I placed for open adoption on her birth father. We were only dating 3 months, and we broke up because he cheated on me with his ex-girlfriend. Oops, I'm pregnant. And of course, he's like, it's not mine, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, it is, And he tried I can't have kids and, all this crap. And I'm like, dude, it's your kid, But I was scared, because me, Anna, I'm pregnant. What, me? I was already immature as it was anyway. I was kind of childish at that time anyway. I had some maturity to me, but, as a 19-year-old, I'm pregnant. I'm scared. I don't have the birth father's support, which means I probably don't have his family's support. My mom, that's a whole nother ballgame, but she's a narcissistic mother. So of course she's like, how dare you, Hannah Rachel? Why would you get pregnant? How could you do this? Blah, 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 talking down. I just had all around me. So I'm scared. I have no support. I'm like, what do I do? So yeah, I thought, even being pro-life, I thought about abortion briefly, but then I'm like, no, I can't do that. This baby deserves a life. And then I thought about unaliving myself. Then I'm like, no, I can't do that, because then I'd still be aborting the baby. Because if I unalive myself, then I will unalive the baby as well. So, I was like, I can't do that. So, I ended up, I didn't know what to do. So I ended up calling my cousin, one of my first cousins who lived up in Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio. And I told him the situation, and he's like, "Well, do you want to come and move in with me and my wife?" And I wanted at that time so bad to get out of Florida. I was so ready to go. I was familiar with Ohio because I was in foster care up until age 18, and I went to Ohio and Indiana every year for vacation, on summer vacation with my foster parents because that's where they were from. So I was familiar with the area. I went up and I took a Greyhound bus up to Cincinnati, Ohio, stayed there for a few months with my cousin Ray, and his wife had known about a girl. She had a friend whose daughter went through it was a Christian maternity home ministry started by Jerry Falwell Sr. If you don't know who it is, just look him up. Not Jerry Falwell Jr., Jerry Falwell Sr. Okay. He actually helped start the Moral Majority. He was a TV evangelical. Can't say the word, whatever. He was a famous pastor. Okay, but he started a maternity home called the Liberty GodParent Home, or LGH. And it was a home for unwed mothers. And I believe it started in 1982-ish, somewhere in there. But I got there in September of 2002. So I went from Florida, Central Florida, to Cincinnati, Ohio, stayed there a few months. And then I heard about this home. And my cousin Ray was like, you can stay here with us, get a job, keep the baby, parent, or you can go to this home and they can help with counseling, whatever you need, and they can teach about adoption or parenting, whatever, it's your choice. So I thought about it. I was like, okay, I'll go to Lynchburg. Never been in Virginia in my life. It's in Lynchburg, Virginia. That's where I'm at now. It's where I live. So I went from Central Florida on a Greyhound bus to Cincinnati, Ohio. Went from Cincinnati, Ohio on a Greyhound bus to Lynchburg, Virginia. And the lady that picked me up was Missy Lowry. If anybody I was more Christian back then than I am now. I'm not a Christian anymore. I'm just a spiritualist. I ain't going to go into my beliefs, but I'm not a Christian anymore. However, I was a Christian then. So anybody in the Christian world, if you know who the Gaither vocal band is, if you know who Mark Lowry is. Mark Lowry was in the Gaither vocal band for many, many years, decades, and he's also a Christian comedian, but he's famous in the Christian world. Well, his sister is who picked me up, and she was a volunteer with the Liberty GodParent Home, and her family lived here in Lynchburg, Virginia, and so she was the first person I met here. And then I got to the home, and basically they gave me a tour of the home. I was overwhelmed. I felt like, at first I'm like, cool, like there's other girls in my boat too, you know what I mean? We're all pregnant. It's a little weird and a little just different, but I was just like, I was glad to be around other girls or women. I say girls because there was even 12-year-old girls, pregnant girls that went through this home, so I mean, this home takes in any age. So it don't matter if you're of age or not. But I was 19. I got there September 2002. They gave me a tour of the home. It's a little overwhelming. It was cool that I was in the same boat with these other girls, but developing a relationship with them, I was a new girl. You know what I mean? So they had these cliques. And, the Liberty GodParent Home, they take in anybody, It doesn't matter, like, they do have their stipulations. I'll get into that later. But, like you could be from out of state, they'll take you in. It don't matter if you live from Florida or whatever. I came from Ohio, technically Florida, but, they took me in. So, there was girls from Nevada. There was girls from Mississippi. There was girls from here. There was girls from all over the place, girls meaning women and young girls that were pregnant. And so they had their little friend cliques and things like that. And at first, for a while, first couple of months at least, I was kind of like snubbed. I was a weirdo. I never seen snow for the first time. So when I saw snow for the first time, I ran outside in like flip-flops and Florida gear. And they're like, you're not supposed to wear it. You're going to get sick. You're pregnant, blah, 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 get inside. I was just like, I'm still a doofus. I'm still a geeky doofus, dorky, wacky person. But, and sometimes I guess it takes a minute to get used to me or get to know me. I don't know. Sometimes I click with people and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have to grow on people, whatever. But some of these girls were from rich homes. And see, the thing is they got married out of wedlock and were an embarrassment to their family. These rich families, how dare they get pregnant out of wedlock that they can't reflect on the family, right? So they were cliquey, especially the rich girls. And I actually had made a statement. We had everything taken care of for us. We had all our medical stuff taken care of. We had a counselor. We had classes. We had to go to church. It was Thomas Road Baptist Church, and Jerry Falwell Sr. was the type of pastor that, unless you were dead, you went to church. It don't matter if there was a blizzard, rain, snow, hurricane. It don't matter. You go to church. We went to church no matter what. All of us girls rode in this big white van, and the closest due date girl, like if your due date was the closest, you got to sit up front, and then it went by due date. So whoever was the closest in due date got to sit up front, and so on and so forth, and whoever was in the back were the furthest away. So, you made your way up closer to your due date or whatever to the front seat of the van. But we rode around in this van, which people like to gawk at us, because getting out of this van, there's like, depending on how many girls are in the home, there's like 5 to 13 or so, however many pregnant girls at one time. People are like, damn, that's a lot of pregnant women, you know what I mean? They didn't really understand unless they knew about the Liberty Government home. But our food was taken care of. Breakfast was made, lunch was made, dinner was made for us. But we were on a tight, schedule. We were on a schedule, like always on a schedule. We had some free time, but not much. I personally got to meet a lot of great people, whether it be musicians, artists, whether they were Christian or not, doesn't matter. But I got to meet a lot of good people. I remember, in the middle of the night, if you get hungry, because you're pregnant, you get hungry. Wake up in the middle of the night, you can go in the pantry and go get something to eat, and there was like a ton of food. It's awesome. You just couldn't cook anything, but you can eat whatever, just as long as you don't cook it, unless it was microwaved. But yeah, we were on a tight schedule. We had house parents, which were most of it was female staff. If anytime there was men that came inside, they would be like, man on the floor, just to be like, there's a man in the house, whatever, and Jerry Falwell Sr. would come visit sometimes, regularly, and he would eat breakfast with us. And anyway, so back to these cliquey groups. I made a statement one time, during breakfast, or a speech, I guess. And I basically said, look, we're all in the same boat. It was like, this cliquey crap needs to stop. It's rude. It's disrespectful. I'm getting made fun of and put down because this one girl was making fun of me or talking crap because when I ate, I couldn't breathe out of my nose or my mouth because I had sinus issues. So like I breathed heavy whenever I ate or whatever. And she didn't like that. And I'm like, how petty. You know what I mean? And I know we're all pregnant here. Our hormones are, under one roof and everything, but it's like, stop the pettiness. We're all in the same boat. We are in a serious boat. We're all facing serious decisions here, life decisions. And, we're all, we're going to act like we're in middle school or elementary school or even early high school. No, grow up, grow the fuck up. You're going to be a mother, whether you place for adoption or not. You're going to be a mother. You're about to be a freaking mother. Grow up. So that was my speech. And after that, like, I didn't have no problems. I had no, the girls, the cliques pretty much stopped. And then everybody, pretty much the girls that were putting me down or whatever, they apologized to me, and they were like, you're right. And I'm like, I know, yeah, and we had a lot of fun. But we also had house chores that we had to do. And house chores would pretty much rotate every week. And we did them every night, pretty much after dinner. And then we barely watched TV. If we watched TV, it had to be agreed upon. And sometimes we'd get away with watching like Law and Order. But other than that, it was Christian stuff. We had to watch this film about abortion and how abortion is done. I think it's called The Silent Cry is the name of the movie. We watched a couple other movies that had to do with placing for adoption. We had a lot of adoption classes. I ended up nicknaming this place the Baby Factory because basically more birth mothers were placed for adoption than not. I didn't want to place for adoption. I went in there straight up. I was like, I do not want to place for adoption. And here's the thing about the Liberty background. I loved it there. I loved the people there, most of the people there. But the thing is it's very manipulative. It is. And it's their way of the highway. When I did start coming around thinking about adoption, I actually wanted to place my baby with a gay couple. But they told me that don't even think about it. Because if I choose that they're going to kick me out immediately, like that day, and I can never come back. And I can't use your services or anything because they're a Christian-based organization and they were against gays. Whatever. But I didn't want to place for adoption. Basically, they made me feel like, well, because you're poor and indigent and you don't have any support, then you got a place for adoption, basically. And it's like they didn't have an aftercare set up. I was actually the first girl to go into their aftercare program ever after I had my baby. But, it's more focused on adoption. And they do have an adjacent place. It's called Family Life Services, FLS, Family Life Services, which is the adoption agency that is I think it's owned by Liberty University at least, or the whole Falwell family, whatever. It's in that thing, whatever. But they definitely, I'm gonna hook up my phone. All right, I think I'm back now. Okay, sorry. I had to hook up my phone to the electric thing. So, but basically, it's their way, the highway. They had and see, the thing is like I said, Planned Parenthood is a profitable, marketable business. So is adoption, more so. Adoption is more of a profitable, marketable business than even Planned Parenthood. So, people, adopted parents or prospective parents, pay tons of money for everything, whether it be to apply, whether it be fees, whether it be to pay for this and that, and for the birth mother, medical bills, or even the placement, in the adoption fee and the home studies and they pay a lot of money. And all this money, this was a private adoption agency. So all this money goes into this agency, which kind of flows in through the Liberty GodParent home. So, and we also would do fundraisers and things like that. And some of us girls, we would be at the fundraiser sometimes, or like, we had to go to church. So we sat in a certain section. This was at the old Thomas Road building. This is before it went to the Erickson building where it is now currently. So anybody in Lynchburg, Virginia, if you know where Thomas Road Baptist Church is, that's the new building. I'm talking about the old building on actual Thomas Road in Lynchburg, Virginia. Thomas Road Baptist Church, the old one. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google it, look it up. Pastor Jerry Falwell or whatever, senior, he had the old gospel hour. He'd be preaching, and then down in the right corner, there's somebody like hand signing or whatever, and just look it up, just Google it. But anyway, we had a certain place that we sat, and in a way, it was kind of out of the way, so people weren't exactly staring at us. But anytime that like they were doing a fundraiser or mentioned Liberty GodParent or whatever, they'd have us stand up, and all the congregations like looking at us and everything, and it's just like, and some of us girls, we didn't even want our identity like released, in the home, we had, like I said, we were on a tight schedule, so we had phone times, and you had to have a phone card, especially if it was long distance. You had to have a phone card or somebody sending you a phone card, or somebody sending you money. They didn't give you money or anything like that. They didn't fund anything. You got your clothes from like donations and things like that. Anything you needed pretty much was on donation. Anything you wanted was the money you had, whether it be through your parents sending it, whoever. My cousin would send me some money and some gifts. Like I liked milk chocolate covered cherries. He'd send me a box of those and some calling cards or whatever. So yeah, and like I said, we had classes, and even which they actually stopped doing this later in pregnancy, but I think it was at least my eight to 8.5 month in pregnancy, we had to do this thing where they had this baby, and I don't know if anybody remembers in high school, you had to have it's like a 5-pound thing of sugar, and you dress it up as a baby and you play mommy and daddy to it, similar to that, except it was an actual baby doll, and it had a special program within it. So you know, whatever birth mother, we were pregnant at the time. I was like 8.5 months pregnant when I got mine, and had to do this program. We all had to do it. But each baby was programmed differently. So you might have got a colicky baby. You might have gotten a good baby. You might have gotten a regular baby that just cries and, whatever. And you had to change its diaper. You had to feed it, and do all these things. And the program would program everything, right? And save all this information and data. And then after it was finished, they would plug it into the computer and look at the data to see how well you took care of the baby. Well, with my baby, I got a colicky baby. And I ended up taking a popsicle stick and taping it to the back of the head and the neck. Because every time the baby's head would go like this, it would just cry and cry and cry. And I'm 8.5 months pregnant. I'm like, I do not want to deal with this crap. I'm not going to deal with this. I'm sorry. Just no. That was just a definite no. You know what I mean? It's like I'm trying to focus on, what I'm going to do with my life and my baby's life and stuff. And I got to do this crap. They could have done it earlier in pregnancy when the hormones weren't so I was getting aggravated as crap. So I had to rig the baby to where it wouldn't cry so much. And that's what I did. I didn't even care. And then in this program thing with this baby, we had to, it's usually you got paired with another birth mother that was closer in due date with you. So the other girl that did it with me, like you would have to make a menu. And then you had to cook dinner and do dishes on that one night or whatever. This was like the last night or whatever of doing the baby thing. You had to do the baby thing for a week. And then on the last night, you had to you had to prepare a menu that week. And then on the last night, you had to cook the dinner and do all the dishes and cook the dinner for everyone, the staff and all the girls and everything. 1 second, I'm seeing if there's any questions on here. So any of those who have joined, I'm Anna of Anna Taylor Radio. I have a podcast show. I'm looking at 2 different cameras because I'm recording for my podcast show for audio and video, and then I'm also recording live on TikTok right now. I'm basically talking about open adoption and birth mother story, my story. So this is my experience, my views, my opinions, whatever. So if anybody has any questions on TikTok or whatever, I'll try to see them and answer them the best I can because I'm looking at 2 different cameras, so bear with me. So again, at the Liberty GodParent home, we had fun. We did. We, went on trips and things like that. I went for the first time to Blue Ridge Parkway, and it was beautiful. It was just beautiful. During the fall, we went to this apple orchard and all kinds of stuff, But I think the downside, the worst thing about being at the GodParent home was a placement day. When one of the girls, whether they had already, usually they had just recently exited the program and had their baby and everything, and a room opened up and then a new girl would come in. It was just a revolving door. It was Baby Factory. That's why I named it Baby Factory. But anyway, basically, whether it was a girl who just exited the program, just had her baby, they planning placement date, or a girl you knew that had went through the program. Especially if you knew the girl or woman, the birth mother, especially if you had a relationship with her or a friendship, it made it even sadder is when, they chose to place for adoption, whether closed or open. and placement day would come. It's basically a ceremony where the birth mother has to stay in the back of the house of the Liberty GodParent home while the adoption agency counselor or whoever was your agent or whatever your adoption person, whatever, through the agency that you worked with, would take, you'd spend your last moments with your child if you chose. I did. I spent as much time with my baby as possible. Even in the hospital, I tried to spend as much time in the hospital with her as I could. But I got to dress her and change her diaper and hold her and just look at her. And it gave me a few moments alone with her. And then my caseworker from the adoption agency came in and got her and then brought her out. They filmed it. They brought her out to my daughter's adopted parents. And then they placed her into their arms. Placement day. So anytime there was a placement day with a birth mother, it was sad. Especially if you developed a relationship or friendship with this birth mother. Because the thing is with us birth mothers, we, like I said, with the Liberty GodParent home, and I'm sure many other maternity homes or even adoption world itself, it's very manipulating. And, a lot of birth mothers, they're made to think that just because they're poor or don't have support or whatever the case may be, that they can't parent their child, So they think, and then especially with the Christian homes, they add the Christian element of, well, you're just a vessel and God's blessing you to bless these people who could not conceive with a child. And basically you're giving up your motherhood so that these other people can have a chance at parenthood because you're too poor basically to be a mom or to parent, which is so messed up. It's like, okay, so they have a career, they have a job or an income where they're married, and I'm not. So I guess I'm not good enough to be a mother. It's pretty messed up, But it's very manipulative. It is, and it's wrong. Which I'm going to get more into as far as like my opinions about adoption now, because it used to be I was very gung ho about it. I didn't regret my decision. I never regretted my decision. I loved my daughter's adopted parents. I was excited about the adoption. At my placement day, they're like, we're a family now. We're a family. And I loved hearing those words because I didn't have much family. My family didn't support me in this. Nobody would take me in, because I wanted to parent her. I did not want to adopt. I did not want to place her for adoption. But I was kind of forced to, and manipulated into doing it because I didn't have any help or nothing. And even my family, they were like, no, you can't come here. And then after I placed for adoption, then I have family members saying, well, why'd you do that for? Why'd you give your baby away? No, I didn't give my baby away. I placed my baby for adoption. There's a difference. And yeah, word it right. Because as birth mothers, we do get triggered by words, like when adopted parents say it's called gotcha day. It's basically a birthday, quote unquote, or their adoption day is gotcha day. Gotcha. Okay, adopted parents, if anybody's listening to this, stop the gotcha crap because it's bullshit. Gotcha? No, you ain't got shit. Okay, you got my child is what you got. All right. Now, getting more in depth into adoption. With my adoption, I chose open adoption, as I mentioned earlier, as to why. And at first, it was the first year, it was basically through the agency. So, like, if the adopted mom or father would write a letter or, say her weight, how she's growing, how she's sleeping, how she's doing, whatever, send an email or a letter, it would everything, pictures and everything would go through the adoption agency first, then it would come to me. And finally, it was about a year or so later, they chose to completely open it up and surprise me with pictures and their address and phone number, things like that. And then we kept in touch. Then later on, this was about, 2008 or so. See, I moved back to Florida in Christmas Day, 2003, which killed me. Oh my God. So see, I placed my daughter. I got to Lynchburg in September 2002. I had my daughter in February of 2003. Placed her for adoption. Her placement date was April of 2023. So she was, let's see, she was not even a month old when I placed her for adoption. She was tiny. And then that Christmas that year, I ended up, I stayed at the Liberty GodParent home. And then during the summer, I got an apartment with a girl that had placed through the adoption agency, who did not go to the Liberty GodParent home, but placed through the agency. So we were both birth mothers. So we paired us together, and I was renting, room from her or whatever. And then I decided to go back to Florida because I missed my family. I missed the beach. I missed Florida, my home. That's where I'm from. And but I was so torn because I'm like, I'm leaving my baby here, and I was just like, it killed me. I'm back on that Greyhound bus and back to Florida, and I'm just like crying the whole way. It's Christmas Day, and I'm just like, I'm leaving my baby behind, and I'm about to start getting teary-eyed because it's very emotional. It broke my heart because I missed her so much. And when I got back to Florida, I was only there for like 3 years, and I couldn't take it anymore. I kept in touch still with the adoptive parents and stuff, but I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, I gotta go back. It's my baby. My baby is. And when I came back, I ended up moving in with a friend who was a hoarder. Well, she had a room that was one of her hoarding rooms, and no offense to her, I love her to death. She's a good person. But I told her, I was like, if I clean that room out, like really good, can I move a bed in there and I sleep in there? Because I was sleeping out on me and her son, who was just a kid, sleeping out in the living room on the couch because there was no space in the 2-bedroom apartment to live in. And there was cats and feces, and it was just nasty. It was really bad. It was just really it's horrible. I'm sorry. I hope she doesn't see this because I love her to death, but it was a horrible time. It was hoarding. So she said, yeah. So I cleaned out the bedroom, second bedroom. I bleached everything. I mean, from head to toe, everything. I bleached everything. Got new sheets, got new bed, got new everything. Put in that room. That was my room. So one time I got sick. I had kidney stones, and my daughter was about 4, I think, and 4 or 5, and her adopted mother brought some food over for me, and I was embarrassed as it was. I was like, I do not want them to come in here, because I told her, I was like, just come straight to my bedroom. And when she walked in, the adopted mother, she just took a look, and she's like, here, she just handed me the food, and of course my daughter was like, it stinks in here. She's just a kid. Kids are truthful, brutally honest. I'm like, I know. That's why I wanted to go to the bedroom. She's like, no, we got stuff to do. The adoptive mom said, but see, that's why I was trying to get her to the bedroom, because that's where it was clean at, and I didn't want them around that and to smell the cat stuff. It was so embarrassing. But then pretty much from then on, from that point, the adoptive mother slowly started to kind of like distance herself in communication, even though I was back in Lynchburg and living in the same, close. They lived close by. They don't live in Lynchburg. They live about 30 minutes away, but either way, it's still local. But she started to distance herself because of that. And then we got back in contact again and kind of started bonding. Me and the adopted mother started bonding more, and I got into my first domestic violence relationship, which it over time built and snowballed into. So we started dating in 2008, and before that, I had my own place. Before I moved in with him, basically I lost my job and I couldn't afford my place anymore, so I had to move in with him. And then that's where everything went. From then on, 11 years total of domestic violence, 2 kids out of it. So my oldest daughter that I placed for adoption has 2 a little sister and a little brother. But either way, before that, I had my own place, and my daughter's adopted mother helped me kind of build it up. She gave me furniture. She helped me paint the entire place. I still have furniture that she's given me. She gave me my daughter's like curtains and sheets and everything like that. Cause she had just recently redid her room. So I had her sheets, and I still have her sheets and curtains and things that she gave me. But then when I moved out, I moved in with my abusive ex, which is my 2 younger kids, deadbeat, nothing of a so-called father. He's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. He has nothing to do with my kids or nothing. He's crappy. Very, very abusive. But anyway, as the abuse started to snowball and I began to be isolated, he cut off the internet on me. He wouldn't let me talk on the phone. He wouldn't let me have a phone. He wouldn't even let me, what are you doing? Where are you going? Who are you going with? All that stuff. You know what domestic violence is and you know what I'm talking about. So I started becoming isolated. And so I started distancing myself more from the adoptive parents and my daughter because, with communication, because I was in a domestic violence relationship and I didn't understand even what domestic violence was at the time. So, unbeknownst to me, here I am, and all they see is me distancing myself from them. So, of course, the adoptive mom, I guess, assumes that I don't want anything to do with them or my daughter. But there's also another factor. So, if you know what parental alienation is, which I talk about that on my podcast show as well, and also on if you go follow the @ Project Storm Now on TikTok, I talk about it there too. So parental alienation is basically when somebody keeps your child from you. So that started happening with the adoptive parents, and they started keeping her from me. They stopped communication, stopped writing, stopped talking to me. And this is when the internet started building up. So there wasn't really like Facebook yet, or TikTok or anything like that yet, Instagram even. But eventually that came about and stuff. And later on, when I tried to reach out, they wouldn't reach back. They wouldn't talk to me or nothing. And then finally, when I left the domestic violence and I got my own place, I was homeless with a newborn and a 1-year-old. Finally got a place of my own, and got me and my kids off the streets and left the relationship, even though he continued with this crap. It's called post-separation abuse. It was 11 years total of domestic violence. I left him at 7 years, and then he continued through harassing me through the court system, stalking me, assaulting me, child abuse, whatever, you name it. But either way, from that point, I still never gave up. Even though at that time when I was in that bad relationship or whatever, the abusive one, I did distance myself for some time, but it wasn't the whole time. It wasn't for years. I still reached out and tried to communicate, So, and they just chose not to communicate back. And then they basically come up with a judgment about me of who I am and what I'm about. And then another factor that played into it was that, and I'm sure you're going to say it, even if the adoptive mom ever sees this video or podcast, but she is jealous as hell. Okay. Now, many open adoptions, this happens. Okay. Many open adoptions, the adopted mother typically is who becomes jealous of the birth mother because that's their child that they adopted. They paid all these fees for it, that they went through rigmarole just to adopt, they went through their own journey of sadness and loss and not being able to have kids. And then here they have this kid and they don't want the kid to love the birth mother more than them. Who would want that, right? But the thing is the fact of the matter is tough shit. The kid has a birth mom. It's got 2 mothers, 2 fathers, period. Get over it. You know what I mean? And it's the jealousy factor came into play. And I remember the adoptive mom, she's like, we need to think of a name for her to call you. And I was like, what about mom? I'm her mom. Why would she call me by name? I'm her mom. And she wrote a nasty letter back that went through the adoption agency to me, like I said, before we completely opened it. She's like, no, I'm her mother. You are not her mother anymore. You relinquished your rights. You relinquished your motherhood, blah, blah, blah. You are not her mother. whatever. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so there was a jealousy factor, and eventually they alienated me from my daughter. And she later on in years sent me a nasty letter, semi-nasty. She's like, she'll when she's ready, it's all about her, which it is. It's about her and her feelings. I agree, but when she's ready, she'll find you and she'll da da da. See, the thing is there was no encouragement on their part to communicate with me. So it's just that, if she decide if something pops in her head and she has any questions, sure they'll answer her questions. But the thing is, they didn't encourage a relationship between us, which they should have. Okay. And then when the jealousy started and the alienation started, parental alienation, even though technically I wasn't a parent, either way I was still her mother. She's like, she'll find you when she decides to find you and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? She was age 15. Instagram was around and she found me and we were talking for a while with I love yous, and she was calling me mom. And I mean, she was, she wanted to know anything and everything about her family. She had questions after questions. I answered her question. We were talking through the middle of the night, and then I was like, did your parents know that we're talking? She said no. Because I was like, I wanted to tell them, hey, how you doing? Hey, But she said no, they didn't know we were talking. And I didn't, me not thinking, I'm like, because this, at that time, I didn't know what parental alienation was. I didn't understand that the adopted mom is jealous. I didn't know that. It didn't occur to me yet, at least at that point. I didn't think it was a big deal. So I told my daughter, I'm like, tell them, I said hi, tell them we're talking, because I didn't think it was a big deal. So she was kind of hesitant and I didn't understand why, but she did. She's like, okay, I love you. Good night. After that, the next day, blocked. I was blocked on everything. What? It's kind of funny how I tell her to tell her parents that we're talking, and then all of a sudden I'm blocked when we were talking and talking and talking. And, I knew that wasn't my daughter that blocked me. I knew it was her adopted mother, either that made her block me or she blocked me. So I went through my daughter's older, also adopted brother, to relay a message to the adopted mother. I was like, I don't appreciate being blocked after, you said, she found me. We were talking. I was like, why am I blocked? What's going on? I didn't understand. I was so confused. So then she wrote me this nasty message back and relayed it to me. And she said, I told you before. She'll find you when she wants to find you. When she wants anything to do with you, she'll have whatever to do with you, blah, blah, blah. Like basically stay out of it, she'll find you when she wants to talk to you and all this other stuff. And I'm thinking, well, she did. She found me. We were talking. So what? I didn't understand. I was just confused. I just knew. I knew it was her. So about 6.5 months to maybe a year later, I can't remember, but she was 16 at this point. My daughter had made a secret account online, and the first thing she did was contact me again. And we started meeting up behind the adoptive parents' backs. They had a tracker on her phone, tracking her and stuff, which I understand. Parents do that, whatever. But she was just like so paranoid to be found with me or whatever, like God forbid she got caught. So it turns out when I got blocked, my daughter told me that because she did as I asked her to. I was like, tell your parents that we're talking to them. I said hi and I love them. She did. She told them that. And guess what? They punished her. Well, the adopted mother punished her for it and made her block me. And I knew it wasn't my daughter. I knew it was her. I knew it. I knew my daughter wouldn't do something like that, And she told me, she's like, I was punished and I had to block you from everything. And she was grounded. Like she was punished for finding me and talking to me. And then was told not to talk to me anymore, have anything to do with me anymore. So she was like paranoid to like be found with me, or even talk to me or anything. And so basically, I didn't reach out to the adoptive mother after that, but we continued to, periodically see each other, meet up with each other behind her adoptive parents' backs. Because at that point on, when I found out that she was punished for finding me and talking to her own mother, her birth mother, I was disgusted. I was like, this is bullshit. It's like, this is open adoption. I was like, they've been keeping me from her out of jealousy. like, this is messed up. And the wheels started turning in my head and I started figuring everything out. I'm like, this is really messed up. And from that point on, I 100% regret my adoption. And from that point, from before, I never regretted it. I always spoke highly of these people. They were, I never said a bad, ill word about them or nothing. I accepted them for who they were. Even when I decided to not be a Christian, even though they were Christian, whatever, I still loved them. I still accepted them. I'm like, they're my daughter's parents, you know what I mean? But I'm still her mother too, but they didn't accept that. And they still don't accept it. So, me and my daughter developed this relationship secretly. And then, in the past couple of years, basically, it's like, she don't really have anything to do with me anymore. Thank you, whoever did that. I don't know what that was, but whoever's sending roses and the hearts, thank you very much. I don't have my glasses on, I'm sorry. Hold on. Craigery. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But my daughter is now 20. In the past 2 years, she hasn't really had anything to do with me. But, you love your kids no matter what and even if. You know what I mean? I've reached out to her I still reach out to her. I know she either is not reading my messages or she reads my messages and ignores me. Whatever the case may be, that's fine. I still love my daughter. And I'm here for whenever she's ready, to be in a relationship with me again, So, I follow her on social media, just because I'm going to check up on my kids. I'm sorry. Ain't nothing coming out of this body, and I ain't going to check up on it. Because I'm sorry, adoption or not, which I told my daughter this, my oldest daughter that plays for adoption. I told her straight up, I was like, look, you're my kid for life. I was like, adoption or no adoption, I am your mother. And it is my job, my responsibility biologically to make sure that you get through this life. Period. I'm going to guide you no matter what through this life. Her adopted parents are actually like 25 to 30 years older than me. So, there's going to come a time where their time is going to come where they go to heaven and she's not going to have parents around, so maybe that time she'll come to me. I don't know. I wish we had a closer relationship now, but it's not up to me. It's up to her. And I respect that. She's got a lot going on. Anytime she has questions or whatever, anytime she reaches out, I always answer her questions or try to. I'm always open to her to come to me. So my daughter, I joke around. I'm like, she's my number one. I'm like, and it might annoy her. I don't even care. That part I don't care about. I'm like, look, you're my number one child. You're my oldest child. You're my daughter. You know what I mean? I'm going to check up on you for life. Like even in the afterlife, I'll be there. I'm your ancestor. You know what I mean? I'm your mama. Regardless, adoption or no adoption, I am her mother, period. Whether adoption parents like it or not, there's 2 moms and 2 dads, okay? I don't care what the Bible says. 1 mother, 1 father. No. Wrong. Okay, fact of the matter is they have 2 moms and 2 dads, period. Get over it. But going into adoption, to dive deeper as to, I'm not totally anti-adoption. Like I said, from that day on, when I found out my daughter was punished for finding me and talking to her own birth mother, from that day on, I totally 100% regret my adoption. Now, I'm not going to tell someone, not to, adoption isn't an option, because it is. But now, my opinion is that only if adoption is necessary. Like, if both parents are 100% entirely unavailable, like they're dead or incarcerated for life or something like that, then adoption. Yeah. But, this crap with making birth mothers or even birth fathers feel like you're too poor to parent your kids, or, this manipulation just to make money in a market and a profit off of adoption. That's bullshit. That shit's got to stop. Diving even deeper, y'all can do your own resources and look it up yourself. Okay, Google it, whatever, wherever your resources are, look it up. There are serious, which I found out, serious psychological, emotional, mental, and biological effects from separating a child from a birth mother. Okay. Yes, fathers are just as important as mothers, but typically with birth mothers, especially ones that place for adoption, the birth father isn't around. Just saying, for the most part, but statistically. But even the birth fathers who are included, who want to be in the life, whatever, or is part of the adoption decision, or whatever the case may be, either way, um, biologically, we're talking about birth mothers here because we're the ones that bear the children from the 9 months and then have to give birth. Okay, all the men have to do is stick it in and make the baby. I'm just saying. But biologically, we're attached for 9 months. Okay, and when the baby comes out, at any point, any age, when a child is taken from its mother, it can have long-term, if not lifelong-term effects, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, and everything. Abandonment issues, things like that. Now, I'm not saying every single adoptee has these issues, but a majority, if you look at the statistics, do. If you go on TikTok and look at other adoptees' stories and people who advocate for, anti-adoption or whatever, who were adopted or foster kids or things like that, they'll tell you, just about all of them that I follow here on TikTok, everywhere on all my accounts, they'll say that it's had a negative impact on them to be, taken from their birth mother, whether taken or placed or whatever the case may be, separated from their birth mother. And, as a birth mom, it's like I said, it's sad. Like I talked about, the down part of going to live at a GodParent home is on a placement day when the babies were placed for adoption. You'd sit there and you knew that your friend, if you've had a relationship with birth mother or friendship, you knew that she was sad. She's hurting. A piece of her is gone. She just went through all this to have this baby, and then now it's just gone. The baby's gone, because of whatever reason, because she's too poor or don't have support or whatever stupid reason why the agency told her what she should place for adoption, or she's an embarrassment to the family and, whatever, and, especially young mothers, young mothers are very, not ignorant, but, easy to manipulate, I guess, and, when we're young, we don't have that strength of, you're not going to step on my toes. You don't tell me what to do to dictate my life. We don't have that power yet because we haven't had anybody stepping on our toes too much. We, later on in life, we get in our 30s and 40s. That's when we get our attitudes. That's when we get our power back. That's when we learn self-love. That's when we are like, you're not going to do this to me or manipulate me anymore because I'm onto your shit, But when we're young, we don't know any better. You know what I mean? So we're like, oh, place my baby for adoption? Okay. And it's just, it really messes up. I know it did me. I was hurting for so long. I'm still hurting. I'm still feeling the effects of it. And my daughter too, she's inherited, some things, and has some issues because of the adoption. So, and there may be some underlying things that she don't even realize that she has from the adoption, so either way, it's sad all around because it's like, here you are as a birth mother giving up your motherhood and you're looking over and you're looking at this couple. Yeah, they had their journey and losing babies, maybe miscarriage after miscarriage, whatever, their journey, whatever. And, but it's like, this is their day. They're finally getting a child, even if it's not of their own or whatever. You get to watch this, fulfill this parental fantasy of these people, and you're so happy, and you're just sitting there like, it's sad for the birth mother. There's nothing happy about placement day for a birth mother. There's nothing happy about placing a baby for adoption for a birth mother. Nothing. Okay. Now, for me, what I guess I thought was not a happy thing, but I felt like I was, giving these people a gift. I'm like, this is a very huge gift, in my opinion, that I'm giving you my first child, like Rumpelstiltskin. What was the story, Rumpelstiltskin? Like, you get the firstborn child or something like that. It's like that, you know what I mean? But then on the inside, it's like on the outside, I'm like, congratulations, I'm so happy. Yeah, we're a family now. Like they said, we're gonna be a family, but we never were. Oh, we're a family. And I gotta be smiling at my placement day, da 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 da. But it's like on the inside, I was just trashed. I was wrecked. I was like, man, I didn't even know what to think. Really, I didn't have therapy after that because I didn't have medical insurance. I went through postpartum depression, didn't even know it. I started having suicidal thoughts, and it freaked me out. And I called the suicide hotline. I'm like, this is not me. So I finally got into some kind of, it wasn't a therapist, but some kind of someone who evaluated me. And they diagnosed me with ADHD and severe depression and postpartum depression, for home place for adoption and stuff. So that's basically what happened. I didn't even know there was a postpartum anything. I didn't know anything about depression. I didn't know anything about anxiety or nothing. I just knew that, I was having suicidal thoughts. I'm like, whoa, that's not me. I'm never, except for one time, when I got pregnant, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll unalive myself, but no, I can't do that because then I'll be hurting the baby. You know what I mean? I got to keep the baby alive. Me being pregnant, I'm like, it was my duty to keep this baby alive and grow the baby. So like, when I placed for adoption, I'm like, well, I'm doing these guys a service. I'm birth mom and I'm giving them this baby. It just tore me up. It really did. It messed me up. And then my baby, I barely got to see her. I barely got to hold her, or anything. I didn't get to, wake up to her cries in the middle of the night or take care of her when she was sick or, have her call me mommy or run to me and be like, mommy, I get a boo-boo or anything, And ultimately, I'm grateful for these people. They raised her good. They took care of her. She's doing well financially. She's going to college, stuff like that. But, they're very strict with her because she's not a Christian either. Apple don't fall far from the tree, huh? She's a spiritualist, but she can't tell them she's not a Christian. She has to kind of breathe under her breath, and not piss them off. Pretty much the adopted mother, they're very judgmental Christian people. But ultimately, even though they're judgmental Christian people, they're good people. You know what I mean? Like they do good things. My daughter's a black belt in karate and I think jujitsu. When she was young, she was a black belt. She learned how to hunt. She learned how to fish. She learned how to do all kinds of things from these people, and I'm very grateful for that. But who knows what kind of life she would have with me either. I could have taught her some things. And, nature versus nurture. She's almost just like me. Not exact footsteps, but almost. Like things I'm into or always been into. I've done TV, radio, film, and media production, pretty much my entire life. Like literally since like the first week I was born, I was on national television as a miracle baby because my mom had 13 babies before me. I had 13 brothers and sisters that all passed away, and I was the only baby that survived. So I was on national television, a whole segment, like a 2020 segment thing, a whole hour on the miracle baby, which was me. I was the 14th baby, the only one to survive. So, but either way, being in TV film production, even though I didn't teach her that, nature versus nurture, she's into that. So, apple don't fall far from the tree, and things we believe in spiritually and things like that, stuff like that, are close in nature too. So, but yeah, I hope that she opens up to me more and she, steps up her game. Like I said, us women, we don't get our snap until our later, 30s and 40s, where we're like, you're not going to do this to me anymore. You're not going to manipulate me. You're not going to dictate my life. You're not going to, and you step up for yourself. She's a people pleaser. I used to be a people pleaser too. So, I understand. So she's very intimidated by these people, especially her adopted mother. So hopefully, she can step out of that someday and come into her own and be like, look, you're not going to treat me like this anymore. You know what I mean? So moving forward. Okay. Okay, so share how I managed my emotions, processed my grief, and found support or coping mechanisms. Well, Earlier in the day, like when I mentioned I didn't have any medical insurance and I couldn't go to therapy or anything, but yet I went and seen some psychotherapist, whatever it was, because I was suicidal. And they diagnosed me. They did an evaluation, diagnosed me postpartum and stuff like that. Um, in those days, I smoked weed and smoked cigarettes. My cigarette smoking days went. Smoked a lot of cigarettes and weed. um, and my coping mechanisms, I started isolating, making my room and my apartment dark, dark and like close curtains and everything, because it was depression. I never dealt with depression before, at least that I know of, at least to this magnitude. So I just did whatever I could. At that time, see, I've had different levels of depression where like sometimes I don't eat at all, and sometimes I'll eat the whole house. So it just depends as far as my appetite goes. But through the years, it's been up and down coping. Whether it be through writing, I play darts. I know it sounds weird, but you have a bullseye, you focus on it. So it kind of helps me focus instead of being so distracted. Um, every year for my daughter that I placed for adoption, every year at the time of her birth, which is 11:50 p.m. On the day she was born, or the night she was born, rather. She was born on a Tuesday night. I light a candle for her, and I sing happy birthday for her every year at 11:50 on the night she was born. And now that I have access to her, communication, I wish her happy birthday. I've gotten her gifts and things like that, which helps. But still, it's my baby. I missed out on those precious years. But I'm still dealing. I'm still coping. It's still part of me. But I've been on a healing journey the past few years. I got other stuff going on that I'm healing from, a shit ton of stuff. Childhood trauma, foster care, from the adoption, parental alienation, domestic violence, surviving it, and all kinds of stuff. So custody battles, just all kinds of things. But yeah, I'm just dealing and coping the best way I can in the most healthiest way I can. I am in therapy now. I have medical insurance now, so that kind of helps, but it only helps so much. I am part of several Facebook birth mom groups, and then the adoption agency that I went through, Family Life Services in Lynchburg, Virginia, has once a year birth mother retreat. Sometimes they go to nice places, like out in the mountains, whatever, or sometimes it's at the Liberty GodParent home. But what we do is we have lunch, and then sometimes we'll do like a crafting session, craft something, make something artistic or whatever that's special. And then we sit around in about an hour and we talk about being a birth mother and where we're at with our adoption and stuff and how we feel about our adoption, things like that. I've been to several of these retreats. I don't go every year. I go when I can or when I remember. Sometimes I forget. Put it in my calendar, I totally forget. It's like 9 months later and I'm like, oh, totally forgot. But it helps a little bit. But staying connected with other birth mothers helps, especially, any support group, whatever. So if you're a birth mother listening to this, find support groups, whether local, online, Facebook, whatever. It helps to become friends with or find other birth mothers out there to talk to about this. Like I said, every adoption is different, whether closed or open. And universally as birth moms, we went through the same stuff. You talk to another birth mother, they're gonna know. They're gonna relate to what you're talking about. And then if you're an adoptee listening to this, I highly recommend do the same thing. Find support, whether Facebook groups or local support groups. Find other adoptees. A circle of adoptees for support. That you can get into, things like that. Okay, so in conclusion, let's wrap this up. Basically, recap main points discussed throughout the episode. So, the main points is every adoption is different. like I said, this was my experience as a birth mother, and the adoption industry is an industry now. Yes, it is. It's a profitable, marketable industry. Make money, money, money. Baby factories, especially maternity homes. I nicknamed a baby factory because that's what it is. It is what it is, you know. And I just totally believe that adoption isn't necessary unless both parents are just 100% entirely unavailable, whether it be incarcerated for life or they're dead. Don't, if you're young, I don't care what age you are, even if you have 5 kids and you're pregnant with your 6th kid, okay, whether you're thinking adoption or abortion, look, if you got 5 kids and did it, I don't care if you're a single parent, even, you can take on a 6th kid. Don't do that to your kid, because it's going to cause resentment. They're going to be like, well, why me? Why did you keep the other 5 and not me? There's all kinds of stuff that can go wrong with that. And for people who can't have kids, who want to adopt, like, there's tons of kids out there, whether overseas, in the United States, whatever the case may be, who do need loving parents, but only in the cases where their parents are entirely unavailable. Foster care is a whole nother ballgame. That's also an industry. It's an underground child trafficking market, okay, where they will literally, and I was in foster care, okay, I can speak from experience. They will snatch those kids out of that home, okay, then they turn around and they'll alienate the children from the parents because they sign a safety plan. Know your rights. When CPS comes to your own people, know your freaking rights and use them too, okay? And don't ever sign a safety plan either, because that means CPS will have dig their claws into your kid, and they legally now own your kid. And then they put them into whatever foster home, which a lot of foster homes are very abusive, more abusive than the homes that they came out of, if the home was even abusive at all. Okay. And then they take the children and have immunity in the court system. So what they do is the caseworkers or whatever will go to the courts, and then they'll terminate the parental rights. And then that puts the kid up for adoption. And then they adopt the kid out for profit. It's a profitable industry, and it's sick, and it needs to stop. That's why one reason, if you go on TikTok, it's at Project Storm Now. Yeah, go follow that. I talk about parental alienation, foster care reform, and family court reform, and all kinds of reforms. Like, we need to change the way we do things on this earth. So, like, seriously. So I want to encourage any of the listeners who listen to this, whether it be if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast episode, whether it be on my Anchor or Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or watching it on my YouTube channel, I encourage you, if you are a birth mother who is pregnant, or even a birth father, if you're still with the birth mother, if you're still together and you're like, what do we do with this baby? Like I said, statistically, most birth fathers leave, but let's say he's still in the life of the birth mother, that's great. But birth father, birth mother, prospective adopted parents, whatever, okay? Seriously, know what the fuck you're getting into. I'm not kidding. Do your research. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Know what psychological, emotional, and mental effects that it has on separating the child from the birth mother. Okay, it's not good. It's very ugly. It's very bad, and it's a majority of adoptees and birth mothers that it happens to. Yes, oh yes, the numbers speak for themselves. Go do your research. Okay, for adoptees, prospective adopted parents. Yes, I'm sorry that you can't have your own children. I'm sorry that you had to go down the road of losing child after child, whether miscarriages or you can't conceive. My heart goes out to you, okay? But please don't sign up or even get involved with any of these marketable agencies, okay? If it looks like it's a baby factory, if it looks like they make bank, especially private agencies, okay, don't go through them. Find children who either both parents are dead or both parents are incarcerated for life. Unfortunately, sadly, there are plenty of kids like that to go around who need loving homes or abusive homes. Unfortunately, there's people out there who just should not be parents, who are very abusive and traumatized children, and they should not be parents. They should either never birth a child or should never been a father to a child, whatever. Those types of parents, abusive people, those kids need a loving home, and to show, be shown what a healthy, loving parental and child relationship is. Especially traumatized kids. I was a traumatized child. Not necessarily saying I should have been adopted, but I did go into foster care when I was 12. I was 18, and I missed my family so much, and I'm not saying like my childhood trauma is exactly from my family. My family wasn't really abusive. My mother's a narcissist, but I had other things that happened to me as a child outside of my family. So like sexual abuse and things like that by other people. Traumatized, seeing things I shouldn't see, being abandoned, looked at home. My mom messed up a few times, but either way. So yeah, once I finish this TikTok live, and also I'm recording on my computer here on this camera and audio as well. When everything's done and edited, you can watch this on my YouTube channel at Anna Taylor Radio Channel, or listen to the audio at anchor.fm/Anna Taylor Radio Now, or type in Anna Taylor Radio on either Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Apple Podcasts, and you can listen to the audio version. And either way, audio or video version, I'm going to post some resources, whether it be for adoptees, whether it be for adopted parents, whether it be for birth mothers or birth parents. Yeah, no matter who you are, whether you're an adoptee, whether you're a birth mom, birth father, or adopted parent, find some support. Find your circle, find your tribe, because they're out there and it's needed. Okay? So, yeah. I know there's lots of love to go around, but especially for a birth mom, I'm telling you, it's like our hearts are just ripped out of our soul, when our babies are taken away, even if it was our choice, So, but that concludes this episode of Anna Taylor Radio. If anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, or wants to be a guest on my show, please email me at annataylorradio@gmail.com. You can please follow me on Facebook, Anna Taylor Radio, Instagram, Anna Taylor Radio, on TikTok, go to the @ Anna Taylor Radio Now, and then I also have Project Storm, which is Project Space #Storm. But on TikTok, it's the @ Project Storm Now. Go follow that. And then Instagram, I think it's. Let me check. Hold on. I think it's Project Storm Now. And then Facebook, it's Project Space #Storm. And also, Project Storm does have a support group. This is for anyone, whether it be domestic violence, whether it be addiction recovery, whether it be suicide prevention or awareness, whether it be you're dealing with a custody case, parental alienation, whether you're a foster care child or a foster parent or adoptee or an adopted parent or a birth mom or a birth dad, whatever. Like we cover it all. 1 second. Yeah, on Instagram it's Anna Taylor Radio, but on TikTok it's Anna Taylor Radio Now. So if you wouldn't mind going to follow that, I'm actually wanting that account, the Anna Taylor Radio Now on TikTok, to hit 1K followers so I can go live and do these podcast episodes live on that account. This is my personal account. So I want to thank everybody who either is listening to this now, watching this now, whenever you're watching it. I want to thank everybody on TikTok who's live with me right now, who's joined in, give me hearts and all kinds of sparkly things and roses and support and everything like that, and said, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, so my heart goes out to everyone. But there's help out there. You're not alone. Find support. Okay. Find support. Find your people. Look it up. Do your research. Adoption. Do your research. Seriously. Whether you're birth mother, birth father, or adoptive parent. Like, seriously, because, whew. I'm Anna Taylor of Anna Taylor Radio. Thank you for listening to another episode here on Anna Taylor Radio. Have a good night, day, morning, whatever it is.